Welcome to the deep dive. A lot of you are thinking about your overall well-being, and well, that's exactly where we're heading today.
Mhm.
Into the core of foundational health, looking closely at nutrition and, the role supplements might play.
Right.
One of our listeners actually sparked this deep dive, and we're excited to get into it with you.
Absolutely. And we've got a couple of really interesting pieces of information to work with today.
Yeah.
First up, there's this document, 2.1 GFOP Cham Sok Sok Coxilla Untung.pdf. It gives us a pretty solid handle on what foundational health means and the vital role of nutrition.
Okay.
Then we're also digging into a transcript from a real-life wellness video. It's someone showing their personal experience, their routine, with dietary supplements.
Got it. So our goal today is really to pull out the most useful nuggets from these sources.
Exactly.
Give you a clearer, maybe more concise understanding of foundational health, why what we eat matters so much, and how to think about supplements without feeling, overwhelmed.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so let's dive right in. What does it actually mean to have good foundational health?
Well, the document we have, it starts with the definition from the World Health Organization, the WHO.
Okay, the WHO definition.
Yeah, they say health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not just the absence of illness or infirmity.
Right, right. So it's a much broader picture than just, whether or not we're sick.
Definitely.
And this document actually breaks down foundational health into 4 key areas. What are those?
It identifies physical, mental, social, and environmental health as the 4 pillars.
Environmental, too. Interesting.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that there are lots of interconnected factors that contribute to how we're doing overall.
Definitely. And the document also gives us a pretty extensive list of things that could be warning signs related to our nutrition and lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these were quite eye-opening, like nervous tension, even feeling socially isolated.
Yes, it lists quite a few, I think 29 in total, that could potentially signal an issue with our diet and how we're living.
29, wow.
Yeah, and they range from physical things like heart palpitations and changes in vision to mental aspects like memory issues, trouble concentrating. It really highlights how connected our bodies and minds are to our daily habits,
It really does. Makes you think about those little things you might just brush off, right?
Yeah.
But maybe they're actually trying to tell you something more fundamental.
Exactly.
Okay, so the document then shifts to some major health risks, specifically in Vietnam. What are some of the key areas of concern mentioned there?
Well, the document points to unhealthy diets as a big factor.
Okay.
It mentions high salt intake, a lot of instant noodles and sugary drinks, and not enough fruits, vegetables, and seafood.
Right, the typical dietary concerns we hear about.
Pretty much. And lack of physical activity is another major issue, with a significant portion of adults just not getting enough exercise. And then alcohol and tobacco use are also highlighted as substantial risks to public health there.
These are definitely issues that resonate in a lot of places, not just Vietnam. So if those are some of the risks, what does the document suggest we should be doing
Right.
to build that strong foundation of health? What are the core elements of a healthy lifestyle, according to this source?
Well, the document emphasizes a few key areas. First, getting enough energy and having a good balance of macronutrients. That's your carbohydrates, proteins, healthy fats.
The big 3.
Yeah, along with sufficient micronutrients, which are your vitamins, minerals, and those beneficial phytonutrients we can talk more about.
Okay.
Physical activity is also key, recommending 6,000 to 10,000 steps a day. And finding exercise you actually enjoy, which is important.
That helps consistency, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And then getting enough sleep, around 7 to 9 hours, is also highlighted as crucial.
All pretty fundamental stuff, but the document also gets into some more specific healthy eating habits, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It recommends taking your time to eat, chewing your food well.
Slow down.
Yeah, slow down. Prioritizing cooking at home, limiting how often you eat out, and avoiding alcohol and tobacco.
Makes sense.
And finally, it stresses the importance of managing stress through things like breathing exercises, connecting with others, thinking positively, and even laughter.
Laughter, I like that one. Definitely an important ingredient.
Can hurt.
Now, the document really underscores the importance of foundational nutrition. What are some of the main arguments it makes for why this is so vital?
Well, the document makes a strong statement that good nutrition is really the bedrock of both our physical health and our mental capacity.
Bedrock, I like that term.
Yeah. It supports healthy growth and development throughout our lives and is a major factor in preventing diseases, at all stages.
Right.
It also points out that our basic needs for nutrients, they're pretty much the same no matter our age, gender, or where we live.
That makes perfect sense. We all need the right fuel to function well. And the document then breaks down these foundational nutrients into those macronutrients, micronutrients, and phytonutrients. Let's start with macros. Carbs.
Right, carbohydrates. They're highlighted as our body's primary energy source, ideally making up about 55 to 65% of our daily energy intake.
So the majority.
Yeah. And beyond just energy, they're also involved in building our cells.
Cool.
This category includes things like grains, sugars, and the fiber we get from fruits and vegetables.
So it's important to remember not all carbs are created equal, right?
Right.
Fiber-rich ones are better.
Definitely. Those complex carbs, fiber, yeah, they're our friends.
Okay, so it's about choosing the right kinds of carbs. What about protein? That's something a lot of people focus on.
Protein is essential for so many things. Building and repairing our tissues, transporting nutrients.
Immunity.
Supporting our immune system, yeah. Producing hormones and enzymes.
Yeah.
The document suggests protein should be about 13 to 20% of our daily energy.
Okay.
It also mentions that how much we need depends on things like our age, weight, and how active we are. There's a general guideline for adults of around 1.13 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. More if you're very active.
Okay, 1.13 grams per kilo.
Yeah, and one interesting point it makes is suggesting we try not to eat more than 30 grams of protein in a single meal.
Oh, interesting. Spread it out, maybe?
Seems like it, yeah. Spread the intake across the day.
And the document also talks about the difference between getting protein from animals versus plants, right?
Exactly. It notes that animal proteins usually contain all the essential building blocks, the amino acids our bodies need. But
they can be higher in saturated fat and cholesterol.
Right. Plant-based proteins, on the other hand, except for maybe soy, might not have all those essential building blocks in one source, but they tend to be lower in saturated fat and cholesterol.
So variety is key there, too.
Absolutely. The recommendation is to aim for a good mix, maybe 25 to 30% of our protein from animal sources and 50 to 70% from a variety of sources overall.
So again, it comes back to balance and variety. Now, let's talk about fats. They've had a bit of a, mixed reputation over the years.
They really have.
What's the document's perspective on fats?
Fats, or lipids, are crucial. For energy, storing energy, building the membranes of our cells, especially in our nervous system.
Right, brain health.
They also help us absorb certain vitamins A, D, E, K, the fat-soluble ones, and they're involved in making hormones.
Okay, so what's the recommended intake?
The recommendation here is for fats to make up about 20 to 25% of our daily energy.
Similar range to protein.
Yeah, roughly. The document categorizes fats into saturated, trans, and unsaturated. It points out that trans fats are mostly in processed foods, best to avoid those.
Definitely.
And it highlights the benefits of unsaturated fats, particularly the mono and polyunsaturated types.
Like omega-3s.
Exactly.
Right.
Which include those important omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids. And omega-3s get a special mention.
Yeah, we hear a lot about those. Good for the heart, brain.
They do indeed. The document emphasizes how beneficial omega-3s are for our heart, skin, eyes, brain, and joints. Lots of benefits. It even mentions the WHO recommends we aim for at least 2 servings of fatty fish a week, totaling about 200 grams.
Like salmon, mackerel?
Yeah, those kinds. Or about 3.5 grams of omega-3s per week for adults.
Okay.
But then it highlights a pretty concerning fact.
Yeah.
The average global intake of fatty fish is only around 31 grams per week.
Wow, that's way off the recommendation.
Much lower than recommended. So a key insight here is that most of us likely need to be more intentional about getting sources of omega-3s in our diet.
That really puts it in perspective. Okay, so we've covered the big energy providers and macronutrients. Now let's talk about the smaller but equally vital players, micronutrients and phytonutrients.
Right.
What are the key things to know about vitamins?
Vitamins are essential organic compounds. Our bodies can't produce enough of them on their own, so we have to get them from our food. They're grouped into water-soluble vitamins, like the B vitamins and vitamin C, and fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K.
Okay.
And they play crucial roles in, everything from building our cells and helping with our metabolism to supporting our immune system, converting food into energy, and acting as antioxidants, protecting our cells.
Super important little molecules. And minerals, how are they different from vitamins?
Minerals are inorganic substances that we also get through our diet. They come from the earth rocks, soil, water, and they get absorbed by plants and animals.
Okay. Inorganic versus organic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're classified based on how much we need. There are macro minerals like calcium and potassium, which we need in larger amounts,
Makes sense. Macro.
and trace minerals like iron and zinc, which we need in smaller quantities, but still essential.
Right.
Minerals are vital for things like keeping our bones healthy, circulating our blood, making sure our heart and digestive systems work properly, helping enzymes do their jobs, and maintaining the right balance of fluids in our bodies.
So both vitamins and minerals are absolutely essential, just needed in different amounts and with different origins.
Precisely.
Lastly, the document mentions phytonutrients. This is a term we hear more and more. What are they and why should we care about them?
Right. Phytonutrients. They're compounds found in plants, particularly in fruits and vegetables.
Plant power.
Yeah. They're often responsible for the vibrant colors we see in our produce, the reds, yellows, purples. And they act as antioxidants, offering various health benefits.
Okay.
Interestingly, the document points out that in Asian populations, there tends to be a lower consumption of red, orange, and purple fruits and vegetables, and also less variety in intake of berries compared to other regions.
Huh. That is interesting. Why does that matter?
Well, think of phytonutrients as the plant's natural defense mechanisms. When we eat colorful fruits and vegetables, we benefit from those protective qualities too, like boosting our own antioxidant defenses.
Okay.
So this lower intake suggests a potential gap in these beneficial compounds for many people in those regions.
That's really interesting, and a good reminder for everyone to eat the rainbow, as they say.
Definitely a good takeaway.
Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about dietary supplements. We have both this document and the Real Life Wellness video transcript offering insights.
Right.
Let's start with the video. What's the individual's personal approach to using supplements?
Okay, so the person in the video, they share their routine. They take a multivitamin, specifically Nutrilite XX.
Okay, specific brand mentioned there.
Yeah, an omega-3 complex, vitamin D, and protein powder Nutrilite. All plant protein on a daily basis.
So a few core supplements daily.
Right. And they also mentioned occasionally using other things like a B complex or a probiotic, depending on needs.
Okay.
But, and this is really important, they emphasize that these supplements are intended to support a healthy diet and lifestyle.
Not replace it.
Exactly. Not to be a replacement for whole foods. They choose these specific supplements based on what they feel their body needs to support their overall wellness goals.
That emphasis on supplements as additions, not replacements, is really key, isn't it?
It really is.
And the video also includes a very important disclaimer, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The speaker clearly states they are not a medical professional
Good.
and strongly advises anyone listening to talk to their own doctor before starting any new supplement routine. That's critical advice. Everyone should take that to heart.
Definitely. Can't stress that enough.
Well,
Getting
sorry.
personalized advice from a healthcare professional is so important.
Crucial.
What's the general philosophy about using supplements that the person in the video shares, beyond just supporting diet?
Their philosophy seems to be about being informed, knowing about the supplements you're taking, choosing high-quality products from companies you trust. They mention their confidence in Nutrilite because of its scientific backing and quality standards from their perspective, and also being consistent in taking the supplements they decide to use.
That makes sense. Do your research, choose quality, and stick with it if you think it's right for you, after checking with the doctor, of course. Now, the second text excerpt we have also touches on dietary supplements. What's the main message there? How does it compare?
Well, this excerpt really reinforces that idea that supplements are meant to be used in addition to a healthy diet.
Okay, same message there.
Yeah. And it points out that many people who eat a good variety of healthy foods probably don't even need them.
Right.
However, it does acknowledge there are certain times when supplements can be helpful, like during pregnancy, or if someone isn't able to eat enough healthy foods for some reason, or if they have dietary restrictions, allergies, medical conditions, that kind of thing.
Okay, specific circumstances.
Yes. And importantly, it also strongly recommends talking to a healthcare team or a registered dietitian.
Again, with the professional advice.
Absolutely. About whether supplements are needed and to discuss any potential side effects or interactions with medications someone might be taking.
That's another key point, interactions.
Definitely something to be aware of.
So both sources really come back to the idea that a healthy diet is the foundation, the cornerstone.
That's the consistent theme.
What are some practical tips for choosing supplements wisely that come out of the video transcript? Any useful advice there?
Yeah, the video offers several good pieces of advice. Things like doing your homework on different brands.
Research.
Yeah, research. carefully reading the labels to understand exactly what's in the product, the dosage.
Understand what you're taking.
Right, being very skeptical of any claims that sound too good to be true, those miracle cures.
Yeah, red flag there.
Big red flag. Looking for products that have been certified by independent third parties for quality and purity. That can offer some assurance.
Third-party testing, okay.
And starting slowly with any new supplement, just to see how your body reacts before you dive in fully.
Good advice. Monitor yourself. Those are all really smart, actionable things to keep in mind if you're considering supplements.
Definitely practical tips.
So, as we bring together the information from both of these sources, what are the main common threads we see regarding nutrition and supplementation?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway, the loudest message, is that a healthy diet full of whole, unprocessed foods is absolutely the cornerstone of good health.
Cornerstone, bedrock.
Yeah,
It's fundamental.
exactly. Both sources agree on this completely. Supplements can play a supportive role, maybe filling potential gaps in our nutrition or providing extra support for specific needs,
Huh.
but they should never, ever be seen as a substitute for eating a balanced and varied diet. That comes first.
And it sounds like what one person needs in terms of supplements can be very different from what someone else needs, right? It's not one size fits all.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Our individual needs can vary quite a bit depending on our eating habits, our lifestyle, any health issues we might have, like what stage of life we're in.
Yeah.
What might be beneficial for one person might not be necessary or even appropriate for another.
And we can't emphasize enough, sorry to sound like a broken record, how important it is to get professional advice when considering supplements, can we?
Now, it's worth repeating. Both sources highlight the crucial need to be well-informed about supplements and to seek guidance from healthcare providers before starting anything new.
Right.
That helps ensure that any supplements we take are actually safe and potentially effective for our individual needs and situation. Avoids problems.
Okay, we've covered a lot today. From defining what it means to be foundationally healthy, to the specifics of what we should be eating and how to think about supplements.
And a good dive.
Yeah. What are the key messages you think our listeners should really take away from this deep dive?
Okay, I think number one, foundational health is holistic. It's about our physical, mental, social, and environmental well-being.
The whole picture.
The whole picture. Number two, eating a balanced diet with the right amounts of macronutrients, micronutrients, and those colorful phytonutrients is absolutely essential for building and maintaining this foundation.
Nutrition is key.
It's key. And number three, while supplements can be helpful in some specific cases, they work best when they're just one part of an overall healthy lifestyle.
Part of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle.
Exactly. A lifestyle that includes good nutrition first, regular physical activity, enough sleep, and managing stress effectively.
And when it comes to supplements specifically, it really comes down to being an informed consumer and always prioritizing advice from healthcare professionals.
Precisely. Your health journey is unique to you. Understanding the basic principles of nutrition and paying attention to your own individual needs are so important.
Know thyself.
Yeah. Dietary supplements can be a useful tool for some people in some situations, but making informed choices and getting that professional advice are the keys to navigating this area safely and effectively.
Couldn't agree more. So considering all the different things that affect our health and, the different perspectives on supplementation we've talked about, here's something to think about. What's one small, manageable change you could make in your daily routine, starting maybe even tomorrow, to better support your foundational well-being? Just one small thing. And perhaps just as important, who could you reach out to? Maybe your doctor, a registered dietitian, or even just a reliable source of health information to learn more about what might be the right next steps specifically for you.
Good questions to ponder.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.